Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in this video we'll be doing an efficient farming guide for Azerite power in the patch 8.2. With the changes to this brand new patch, there's now a new reason to farm AP. And this is a system you will actually want to engage in patch 8.2, as it will be diving in and exploring the new essence system, which are going to be different active abilities and a bunch of passives that will modify how your class plays. And if you do get any of the higher item level Azerite pieces, as in like 415, 430, and even up to 445, you will need a higher neck level with the AP in order to access some of those traits. But let's be honest, nobody really likes AP farming that much, so this video is gonna go over the most efficient tips to keep it as convenient for your average player as possible, instead of telling you guys, hey, just here are the best grinding methods where you can spend hours and hours on end grinding AP. If you do choose to grind AP in patch 8.2, from my experience so far, Mythic Islands is gonna be your best bet. Queuing Mythic Islands is going to increase the difficulty of the enemies, as well as the quote-unquote player NPCs that it has, which are basically just a little more advanced NPCs, but it's not too challenging. In most cases, if you do have fairly good head on your shoulders, good spatial awareness, and a decent understanding of how your class plays, then you should be able to utilize the LFG system in order to find a group or make one yourself in order to spam farm Mythic Islands. If for whatever reason you're not that confident about your class or how islands play, you can always do them on Heroic, where then the game is going to match you with random players. It does mean on Heroic that the enemies are going to be a little bit less tough than Mythic. The rewards are going to be a little less than Mythic as well. Now that we got the grinding that you can do for hours and hours and hours out of the way, let's talk about the actual efficient ways that you can do to get a fair amount of AP for doing very much nothing. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody. This video is mostly a refresher for all the already known methods, but we are going to combine all these methods in this video in order to give you guys the most convenient ways of getting a bit of AP. When you first log into the game, you could always check out the docks over in Borealis or Outlaw. The docks are going to have these Warfront based NPCs that have these war effort turn-ins you can turn into. It can be things like 100 gold or 100 war supplies, and then other things from profession based like potions and enchants and certain materials like meat and leather. Every one of those NPCs is going to have a different type of thing that they need daily. So every single day you can turn in these mats, which you can buy from the auction house. Or if you're like me, then I actually been saving up a lot of these mats on my main and just been sticking them into my bank with nothing really to do. So you can actually take the materials bank slots and actually get use out of these items. Every one of these quests that you do turn in will give you 500 Azerite power, which accounts to 1,500 a day if you do end up doing every single one of them every single day. On Wowhead, they also have a nifty section to show you what is needed for Alliance or Horde, depending on if a Warfront, War Effort, Gathering quests are up, so you can know ahead of the time what to look forward to from your auction house if you do end up buying it with gold. And generally the items on the auction house, at least on the servers that I play, which is Dalaran and Illidan, there wasn't too much of a price hike on these items, so you could get a decent amount of AP for very little cash spent. This one is probably going to be the most convenient method in this list. The next method is going to be to send your followers on Azerite power reward missions from the command table. You know, that table that barely anybody really ever uses on Alliance or Horde? That one gets you a fair amount of AP. Of course, you can get different things from the command table. You can get reputation for different factions, you can get gold, and sometimes you can get some rare goodies from time to time. So you can kind of just wake up every morning or every time you get to log into the game, maybe after work or school, check your command table, see if anybody brought you anything good, then send them on missions and then check in the next day. From here on, we're going to be a little bit more hands-on in how we get our AP, but we also are going to try to be as efficient as possible. I would say one of the most efficient ways of actually doing stuff in the world would be getting your emissaries done. Emissaries have different types of rewards. It can be gold, it can be war resources, which is not that exciting, it can be pieces of gear, which could be really good, and it can also be AP. But no matter which reward you get, every emissary is also going to reward you with a little bit of Azerite power on the side, so doing these emissaries is actually worth. Like for example, I don't do every single emissary, but I definitely like to do the ones with AP, but also the gold ones. I mean, an extra 2,000 gold in your pocket is never a bad thing, plus you get some AP on the side. So you can choose which emissaries you want to do, or if you do want to try hard them, which it doesn't really take that much time doing them, all the emissaries give you a fair amount of AP, and they're definitely worth doing. Next, we'll talk about doing actual world quests. Now, in terms of getting your emissaries done, you can kind of specialize which world quests you choose for your emissaries, and you can actually go beyond the emissaries and just get every single AP world quest done. And that's probably the best way if you do want to put some effort but get the most amount of value out of it, is to simply just take the time and clear the map of AP quests. Go to Kultiras and go to Drustvar, go to Stormsong, go to Tiergard, and make sure you do every single quest available that gives you AP. Then hop on over to Vol'dun, Nazmir, Zuldazar, and just get every single quest done. World quests are not that challenging, and plus with everybody in 8.2 getting flying, it makes it that much easier to get world quests done. Instead of having to whistle and flight path and actually run to all these locations, you can simply fly directly to them, get it done very quickly, and bail out into the next one. Getting the full map done, or at least I guess both sides, the Horde and Alliance sides of the map, is about an average of 2,000 AP. So just for clearing the map, that's 2,000 more or less AP a day. And if you combine that into the other methods, that is a fair amount of AP you can get in a single sitting. The next thing I would recommend is to find some sort of content in the game for you to engage with, whether it be raids, Mythic Pluses, or PvP. Every bit of content in BFA in patch 8.2 rewards you a certain amount of Azerite power, whether you do bosses and raids on normal, heroic, or maybe even mythic, whether you like to do some low Mythic Plus keys or high Mythic Plus keys to push with your team and you do a bunch of them, or whether you want to PvP. It's good to find outlets like that that you enjoy, whatever it may be, and something you can do repeatedly over and over and over to get AP without feeling like a grind, because you're simply just playing the content that you like out of this expansion. So it's a good idea to explore some of these, especially if you're someone who just doesn't do a lot of arenas. Maybe it's time to start them up, see if you find a spec or a build that you like. Maybe it's time to try your hand at Mythic Plus dungeons. Maybe you'll find a group that you can do them regularly with. And it's a good idea to check out some guilds. Maybe one will take you into raids for a weekly cap. It's a good idea to actually play the content, because playing the content that you like is going to give you AP regardless. And it will definitely feel a lot less like a grind, because you're simply doing activities that you like. But even if you don't find an activity that you like, the least I would recommend for everybody is to do at least your daily heroic dungeon, or normally if you don't have the item level for it, and eventually you should try heroics when you have the item level, and try to get a daily battleground win. It gives you a decent amount of AP, and of course you can keep doing them as many times as you want to, but doing the more challenging stuff like actual arenas, Mythic Plus dungeons, or even raids is going to provide you with more AP. Outside of that, we also have a couple weekly activities, like world bosses. If a world boss is up, make sure to check what kind of reward it drops for you. For me, usually the Warfront rares, the ones in Darkshore or Arathi, generally drop a hefty amount of AP, and it takes less than 2 minutes to get in a group, kill the boss, and then loot your AP. Another bit of content is the Warfronts themselves. When a Warfront is available for your faction, be sure to grab the quest and get the Warfront done. That's not really like a weekly activity because of the way the Warfronts are, where you actually have to do the Warfront, then you get the world bosses, and then the other faction gotta take it back, and it's like almost like a bi-weekly thing, really. And besides killing rares, but you should be able to kill most of your rares just from doing world quests and looting a couple chests in secret locations, which are not too plentiful. They could give you AP, but not a guarantee. That's really about every efficient method that I can think of. Of course, grinding AP in Mythic Islands is going to be the way to grind it. It's something you can do for hours and hours and hours on end if you want to. But we're not looking for something where we sink hours and hours on end. We're just trying to find the best methods to get the least amount of time invested in the AP grind to get the most out of it. And that's hopefully what this video turned out for you guys. But even if you're someone who doesn't like farming, or you feel like this is a little too daunting of a challenge, Blizzard does do catch-up mechanism, as every single week they do make the amount of AP you need for the next level less. So it will eventually get that much easier to catch up to everybody, even if you don't want to grind right now. But still, spending and earning any bit of AP right now does help to the next level and the level after that, and the catch-up mechanisms do help those that are grinding even right now. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it gave you guys all the tips you need right now on how to get your AP up, and hopefully a lot of you guys do get to that level 55 in your neck as soon as you can, because playing around with the Essence system of 8.2 is actually quite fun with all the different passives and actives you can have in a combo to one another. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in another video.